All right, so composition of functions is going to go a little bit differently. Okay? Composition of functions means you're going to compose. Compose means you're creating something that doesn't exist. Right? If you think about a composer, that's what I'm looking for. Beethoven and stuff, they created something. So when we were doing a composition of functions, we are creating a function that currently does not exist. Okay? So this f of g is what it's called. F of g. You guys see this symbol right here? This is not a multiplication symbol. This means of or composed with. Yep, it means of or composed with. Okay? It does not mean multiplication. It does not mean multiplication. We need to clear that. It's an open circle. It does not mean multiplication. What that means is you're going to take the f function and you're going to put the g inside of the f function, and then you're going to leave it in terms of x. So this is going to look a little bit different than what we've seen already. All right? Man, they gave you a nasty one to start with. We're not going to start with that one. Let's start with number 12. Okay? This one says take the h function first. So I'm taking 5x minus 3. That's how you know what to start with, whatever it gives you first. It gave me h first. And then it says take the g function and plug it in for the h function. Okay? So what's our g function? Just x minus 1? So this is where we plug it in at. You ready? Wherever your x is, you're going to take that x out, and you're going to replace it with the entire g function, which was x is it plus 1? Minus 1. But you still have the 5 out here, and you still have the negative 3 out here. So we see what happened. I started with my h function. I took the x out, and instead of x, I replaced it with the entire g function. I put the box, you don't have to. This is just so you can see where it's going, okay? Now, yeah, exactly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to treat this as like parentheses, and we're going to distribute our 5. So let's go ahead and distribute our 5 through, which gives me 5x minus 5. Is the 3 inside the box?
No.
So it's just going to stick on the end. It does not get distributed to. Good question. And negative 5 and negative 3 is negative 8. So we can say h of g of x equals 5x minus 8. H of g of x equals 5x minus 8. Okay, let's look at number 13. We're going to set 13 up, but we're not going to solve it. So let's set up 13. So again, we're starting on 13 with what? We're starting with our f function. So let's write our f function down. Number 13. So I have x cubed plus 8. Now I'm going to take my h function and I'm plugging it in for wherever I have an x. So my h function is 5x minus 3, but we still have it cubed plus 8. Are you okay so far? What this means is you're going to take 5x minus 3 cubed. What if that was squared? How many times would you write it? Twice, but it's cubed, so how many times are you going to write it? So what this really means is 5x minus 3 times 5x minus 3. Write this part down. We're not actually going to multiply it out. Times 5x minus 3 plus 8. That's a lot of multiplication, but you can do it, just 2 at a time. We're not going to take the time to do it right now, but I want to show you what happens if there's an exponent out there, okay? Let's look at number 14. 14 is not a bear. 14, we're starting with which function, John?
G function.
G function. So I'm going to start with x minus 1. But instead of x, I'm plugging in what, Ben? The f function, which is what?
X squared.
Cubed.
Plus 8.
Okay. Is there anything to multiply the x cubed plus 8 by? Is there any distributing or squaring or anything going on?
Nope.
It's just by itself, right? So x cubed plus 8, which means 8's going to combine with negative 1. So I have x cubed plus 7 equals g of f of x. Questions on that?
No.
Okay, so if we look at 15 and 16, it looks very much the same, except now they give us numbers. So what are we going to do you think?
Plug them in.
Plug them in once you have solved the whole thing out.
For X.
Yep, you're going to plug it in for x. So let's start with number 15.
So G.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my g function.
X minus 1.
But instead of x, I'm plugging in the entire h function, which is 5x minus 3. Is there any work to be done on the 5x minus 3?
We need to plug in 2 for the X.
Not yet. We don't do that until it's all the way simplified. Okay? So what can we still simplify here?
The negative 3 and
Negative 3 and negative 1, and negative 3 and negative 1 make?
negative 4.
So I have 5x minus 4. Is there any more I can simplify 5x minus 4 with?
No.
Okay, so once you have simplified everything, at that point and only at that point, can you plug in for x? So what number are we plugging in for x? The 2. So I have 5 times 2 minus 4. 10 minus 4? 6. So I would write g of h
Wait.
of 2 equals 6.
Oh,
So I'm putting my label on.
I did that one. I did 1, 4.
Questions on number 15? All right, I'd like you to try 16 on your own, completely on your own, please.
Bless you.
Shh. Don't worry, it's just water. Okay, so did yours simplify to 5x cubed plus 37? Did anyone else get that?
You what?
5x cubed plus 37? Because we had the x cubed plus 8 that we plugged in. Then we distribute the 5, which gives me 5x cubed. 5 times 8 is 40, minus 3. 40 minus 3 is 37.
I did
You didn't give your minus 3 out there. Okay. So once we have that, what are we plugging in after that? The negative 6 in here for the x. So I should have, I'm going to write it up here so we can see it a little better. It actually is working pretty well. 5 times negative 6 cubed plus 37. In your calculator, if you did negative 6 cubed, what did you get?
No, pause. Question.
Okay.
I accidentally put my cube outside of the room.
Okay, but as long as you do that, that's fine. Just make sure you do the 6 cubed first before you multiply by 5. Because order of operation says exponents before multiplication. So whether you put it inside or outside, the 6 still has to be cubed first.
Okay.
Okay? So negative 6 cubed is a negative 216 times 5 plus 37. What's 5 times negative 216? Negative 1,000 what?
1,080.
Negative 1,080 plus 37. Anyone? Anyone?
Negative 1,043.
Equals h of f of negative 6. Okay, check your work with mine. See what questions that you have. Any questions on number 16? Okay. Your assignment is to do 1 through 17 odd. So on homework number 15, 1 through 17 odd is your homework. Make sure that you are careful. The first half of the lesson, the first half of the homework is just the addition and subtraction thing. The second half is when you're doing the composition. Okay? And the directions change, so make sure you look at that.